welcome to the ACA conference in New York City. I'm Jane King. With me is Aaron Morris of Morris Kandinov, an attorney. And you're going to talk a little bit about the situation with activist funds. And let's just lay the groundwork. What are we talking about here exactly?
Well, it's been an interesting couple of years because there are a few 2 to 3 private fund closed-end investors that have had success influencing management to do things like return capital, getting their nominees on the boards of closed-end funds. And a lot of members of the industry have not enjoyed having someone looking over their shoulder or knocking on their door. And so we've seen over the past couple of years some developments intended to weaken the ability of shareholders to influence management.
Okay, let's talk about those initiatives to try to, where are those, where do they stand right now?
Well, a big one that's been playing out in the courts is the ability of a closed-end fund to use what's called a control share bylaw. And in a control share bylaw will limit the amount that an activist can buy beyond which they can't vote their shares. So usually the limit is 10%. Beyond 10%, without getting approval from the entire shareholder base, which is really hard to do, you won't be able to vote the shares that you buy. And that limits the ability of an activist to influence an election. There's litigation whether that type of bylaw violates a provision in the 1940 Act that requires there to be equal voting rights between shares of closed-end funds. And multiple courts over the past couple of years have said, yes, it does violate it. And at this point, it would be surprising to me to see a closed-end fund implement that kind of bylaw. It's been struck down.
Okay. Now, how do you know if somebody starts the process and they're an activist fund?
Well, you certainly know in these instances because they've developed a reputation for nominating new members to join a board by publicly advocating for change in a fund, for a return of capital, for steps to decrease a discount, to improve performance, to think about whether another manager might make sense. For these actors, it's hard to mistake them. They certainly take a vocal approach to asking for improvements in the funds they target.
And what makes them target these funds? Is it like an underperformance, or do they not meeting some predetermined goal, or?
You certainly see the discount driving the target. These a lot of times these are funds that are highly discounted, that have been for a long time, that have performance issues relative to their benchmark or relative to their peers. You're typically looking at troubled funds where you can make a strong argument to the shareholder base that there should be improvements, whether it's a new manager or whether it's the current manager and the board taking action to address issues that they probably wouldn't take if they didn't have a shareholder knocking on their door saying, hey, I own a big chunk and you need to address these. So that's what you typically see, the lower hanging fruit.
Now, with the new administration coming in Washington, there's a GOP House and Senate. Would that increase the chances of some legislation in this area, do you think?
It's hard to tell because you've seen lots of legislation initiated by the industry over the past decade, and none of it is under multiple administrations, and none of it has made it close to passing yet. And this isn't an issue where the SEC under any of the prior administrations has taken really a leading role. They did on the control share issue, for example. They did in 2010 issue an opinion that the use of a control share bylaw would violate the 1940 Act. Under the new Trump administration, Trump 1.0, they did withdraw that that commentary. But otherwise, they haven't really been involved. So I'm not sure that this is more of a drama that's playing out in the courts.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Aaron, thank you so much.
Yeah.